Hello and welcome in.
Please do not leave your luggage unattended on the station.
Welcome to the show.
Good morning, everyone. It is Wednesday, November 13th. We got me, Jay Boersma, again for Guerilla Sports Daily. Every Wednesday, it's nice to do this one day a week because I have a whole week to prepare for this show. And I always have interesting stories that I think in Colorado people usually don't talk about, but they're very interesting. And obviously, I love talking about Colorado sports. So we got a lot of that too. We got Chloe running the board. But if you want to see Chloe in front of the camera, she's a regular guest now, I guess, on Guerrilla Sports Off Ice. Well, you were in the last two shows, and you did amazing, as the people watching said as well. So mad props to her. Love Chloe being in front of the camera. She knows a lot about the Avs, but I do too. So let's get into it. The Avs are taking on the LA Kings tonight. And the Kings, I didn't think too much of them, but they're top of the Pacific Division, winning a lot of games, losing some in overtime, which is interesting because the Avs just won an overtime game. Let's see how that plays out. They're above the Knights. They're above the Canucks. They're above the Oilers. So there's definitely something going well for the Kings. But so do the Avalanche. They're playing really good hockey right now. And mostly because the people or the players that were backups or backups of backups were actually playing pretty well for what they had to do. And then we see more and more players coming back now. Yesterday, Jonathan Drouin was out of his no-contact jersey. Miles Wood was out of his no-contact jersey. Doesn't mean they're going to play tonight, but it does mean that they're getting closer. As well as Valery Nichushkin, obviously not injured. He was out for other reasons, but he is set to return on Friday. And we know that for a fact that he will play on Friday again. Not tonight, so they have to do without all of those against the Kings tonight. Someone who left the team, though, is Kaapo Kähkönen, the guy that came in to help with the goalie problem. The Avs have two goalies, Alexander Georgiev, Justus Annunen, who were both, how do I put this mildly, were terrible. They played horribly. They let in so many goals, mostly Georgiev, and that is the guy who you expect the most of. Annunen was the backup for Georgiev, but had to take over as the first goalie for at least a few games. Did pretty good. Then Kähkönen came in. This is a funny story. So Kaapo Kähkönen was on waivers at Winnipeg Jets. That is in Canada. If you're on waivers in the NHL, any team can just pick you up, say, you're mine now. So that's what the Avs did with Kaapo Kähkönen because the other two goalies were not performing. And it took him about a week to get through U.S. Customs. And let me tell you, as a Dutch person that moved to the U.S., I know that U.S. Customs sucks. It is horrible. The system is not good enough to handle all the people coming through. So I know that was tough. It was only a week, but if you're playing in the NHL, also a week is a long time. He came to the Avs, was not good enough yet. He needed to work on his conditioning, was sent to the Eagles to work on that. Then he was good enough to play, played one game, then he was put back on waivers for the Eagles because Georgiev and Annunen were actually playing good again. And he was put on waivers, and another team picked him up. Guess who? The Winnipeg Jets. He's going back to Canada. Man, that must be so weird for a player. Kähkönen is a Finnish guy. In Europe, all the borders are open. You can just go wherever. Then you come to the NHL, the biggest league. You think you made it. You're working hard to get your spot. And then you're put on waivers. Need to go to the other country for the NHL. That all is a clusterfuck. Then you get put on waivers again after one game, and you're going back to Canada. It feels sad, and it almost feels unnecessary to put a guy through all of that. But I guess that's pro sports. And Jared Bednar said something along those same lines yesterday during or after practice.
I mean, it's simple, really. Like when we picked Capo up, our goalies weren't playing that good, and it seemed like shortly after he got here, we tried to give him a good opportunity, play the game, and then our goalies went in, and I think both of them have been really strong over the last, handful of games each. So we can't keep three, right? And we didn't get a great look at them because there's only one game and two in the minors. But the guys that we originally had here stepped up and played really well. So that's the decision. We don't have the time to be able to continue to play Capo and our guys and keep three. So sometimes it's a timing thing. In this case, to me, our guys kind of made the decision easy for us, right? We don't have time to evaluate Capo deeply, and our guys played well, so hopefully that can continue. Yeah.
I can fully understand Bednar's reasoning. You are a head coach of one of the most prestigious hockey teams in the world, and you're not a charity event. You're not a charity team where anyone can just play or at least keep their spot because they're nice people or because they've been through some rough times. But as a person, I feel bad for Kähkönen. Not just because of all of this, but also he has to go back to Winnipeg. Who wants to go back to Winnipeg? I'm glad I can stay here in Denver. Yeah, just a weird situation. But it does show how serious Colorado, how serious the Avs are about this team and about winning as well. So it's going to be cool to see with all the top players coming back from injuries and whatnot, to see how they're doing in just 2 days. But tonight, we get to see a little bit of that already against the Kings, a very good team this season. So we'll see if they can beat the Kings and then extend that winning streak later. Then moving on to the Denver Nuggets, they're not playing for 5 days. Their last game was Sunday. Their next game is Friday in a season with at least 82 games. That is impressive. I don't know if that's a nice break or if that's something that throws everything off. 5 days without nothing while all the other teams are still playing. It's a lot of time off. But the team is looking a lot better than in the beginning of the season. They're playing good stuff. Russell Westbrook is playing amazingly. I know Liv Moods loves that. Nikola Jokic is crushing it, doing insane stuff. I love that. They played the Dallas Mavericks on Sunday. They won that game in a good fashion. People say that I look like Luka Doncic. We should have had a picture here of him, but I didn't tell Chloe. People tell me I look like Luka Doncic. I get that. Both European, both super athletic bodies. Actually, no. Luka Doncic doesn't have an athletic body, and Nikola Jokic doesn't have an athletic body either. Makes me wonder if I could play basketball. Well, if you see me shoot one ball, you know I can't. But it's crazy how those two guys, especially Jokic, but Doncic as well, if you see him, they're not the most athletically built people, and they're some of the best players in the league. Cool to see. That's all I wanted to say about that. We have some practice of the Nuggets today at Ball Arena, so you're going to see some. Actually, do we have interview? I don't know if we have interviews. No, because the Avs are playing today at Ball Arena. You'll hear from us later. We do have off court tomorrow with Liv Moods, talking about everything with the Nuggets, getting ready for the next game on Friday. So definitely tune in there. Moving on to the Broncos. I'm just quickly going through all the local teams. It's Wednesday, so that means that we're over the hump, which means that we can forget about last Sunday. I'm not even going to talk about what happened there. Jesse did in length yesterday in Guerilla Sports Daily. It was actually a great breakdown of what happened last Sunday. But we're looking ahead. We're looking at the Falcons. They're playing the Falcons on Sunday, a team who is 6-4, but who lost against the Saints last Sunday. A team that the Broncos beat with Sean Payton, who used to coach there. It was a big game. They beat them. Then they kept playing well, even though they lost the last 2 games. So it's going to be interesting to see what they can do against the Falcons team. I think this should be a team to beat. But there's 3 other people who can tell you a lot more about that. At 11, we have Off Field here with Liv Moods, Nate Jackson, and Brandon Cristal. So also tune into that. I'm just plugging all of our shows because they're worth it. Moving on to CU Buffs, because they're also doing great. They're playing great. Mostly the talks are about Coach Prime. They won against Arizona. They won against Cincinnati. They won against Texas Tech. There's 3 more games coming up now. This Saturday, they're playing the Utah Utes. It's cool to see, but it's interesting to see how much a head coach can change not just the team, but the culture. And not just the culture around the team, but the culture in the school, the culture even in the whole city of Boulder. Things have really changed since Coach Prime came into this program, and he's been doing really well. There was a lot of criticism of if it was the right fit, if Coach Prime wasn't here to just, I don't know, stir shit up. But he's doing really well. You cannot deny anymore that he is a good coach. People want to be part of this. Boulder was a granola town. Well, it's definitely not anymore. At least if you go to the games or if you go to the stadium around the game, just on game day, walking around the stadium, there is so much happening there that you would not see 2-3 years ago. So he's proving the haters wrong. But he's doing it in a very interesting way. Yesterday, we were at CU Buffs practice. Let's just hear what Deion Sanders had to say.
Coach, I know that you're aware kind of what people nationally are saying about your team. Is it
Not really. I'm aware of a couple of y'all in here, what you're saying about our team.
It feels like the conversation has kind of turned from earlier in the season. It was, Shedeur and Travis. Now people are starting to take note. Hey, they're playing well at the line of scrimmage. They've got these other receivers. The secondary's playing really well. Right. Is that refreshing for you to kind of see?
No, not really, because if we believe you now, we would have believed you then. So which one of you do we believe? So why would we listen? We don't have time for that, honestly, because we know who we are, what we are, how we are, where we're going, and we know how to get there. So we don't listen to the outside noise, and that's something that we prepare our young men for on a daily basis, not just with football, but with life. Stop allowing people to tell you who you are. Your actions, your consistency, your lifestyle should really tell them who you are. Not a voice that's oftentimes laced with a bit of jealousy and envy about what you accomplish. Especially these are young men. I could never understand how a grown man is jealous of a young man, or even a grown man is jealous of another man. I don't understand that. When you have the same amount of time, you got 24/7, 365, just like we do. Do something with yours, because I don't feel that way about anybody in here. I want all you to be successful. I want all you to make it. I want you all to soar. Whatever job or whatever career, forget job. Job just pays you enough to make it back to work. Whatever career that you guys want, I want you to attain it, man. I really do. I truly do.
I cut this interview off, or this answer, but he keeps going for about another minute, if not more, about wanting people to succeed and wanting people to be successful and wanting people to take everything out of their life and not understanding envy from grown men or grown people towards other people. He's not an average coach, and like I said, it's interesting. I want to use my words carefully, because I have no hate against this guy. I've just never seen anything like this, anything like him. But it's working. And especially for a college team, I think this is a great guy to have, because those kids are kids still. If you're in college, there is so much that you still need to learn. And he is like a father figure. He is someone you can look up to, someone who's worked extremely hard his whole life to get to where he is. And he wants to pass that on, and he's doing that in an interesting way. But like I said, he maybe they're successful because he's not an average coach. And we have a comment up here. Let's see. Where do you think the Buffs will finish in the conference? They're second in the conference right now. They have 3 more games to go. I don't think anyone expected them to be second in the Big 12 already or at all. 3 more games to go. I think they can win at least 2 of those games. The one against Utah as well. So, because Utah is second to last in the Big 12 conference. I don't think they're going to take the first spot, but I think they're going to stay second, which is insane for the CU Buffs. No one expected that. New league also. They were in the Pac-12, I believe. Now they're in the Big 12, and they're proving their worth in this league. So great stuff. Like I said, he's not an average head coach, but maybe that is why he's doing so well. I want to move on to some national news, but I'll get back to the Buffs or to Coach Prime in a little bit. I want to talk about the Dallas Cowboys. If you follow the NFL a little bit, you know how terrible they are this season. If you don't follow the NFL, let me tell you, they are terrible this season. The Dallas Cowboys, they lost Dak Prescott, huge player for them, and their biggest star player, CeeDee Lamb, and the owner, Jerry Jones, are not seeing eye to eye. There was some skirmish before CeeDee Lamb signed his extension. Jerry Jones saying that they didn't need CeeDee Lamb. Then they did sign him eventually. But this is not a marriage made in heaven. In the last game, the sun was at a certain angle where it shined straight into the end zone. CeeDee Lamb tries to catch a ball in the end zone, has this glare in his helmet, and he doesn't see the ball. He misses it. And he's pointing at the sun like, guys, I can't see. Afterwards, Jerry Jones was asked about it, and he's like, well, why don't we just build a whole new stadium? Take some accountability. You're an 82-year-old man. And this is also something I've never understood about American sports. One person can be the owner of everything and decide everything. You basically have a very old white dictator in charge who can just do and say whatever he wants. And yes, I'm still talking about Jerry Jones. This is the most valuable sports franchise in the world, valued over $10 billion. No other team is that. It's America's team. Well, maybe not anymore, because look at how they're being run. That's not how you run a most valuable franchise in the world. About that glare, there were literally curtains up in that stadium that you could have closed, but instead of taking accountability, Jerry Jones put it back on his players, and he said stuff like, you know where the sun is. The sun is always in the same spot. Okay, if it's always in the same spot, it should be an easy fix to never have that problem. What's the solution? Well, a new episode of Where the Harrises just dropped. I can talk about it, but Shelby Harris, Chris Harris Jr., and Ryan Harris on a podcast on Guerilla Sports, Where the Harrises, talked about exactly this.
Team is just they're not gonna go too far. They might as well get ready for next season. Get ready to Belichick. We got Prime Time. Who else we got? You know, we got some nice candidates. You know, we got some nice candidates next year. That's gonna be it's the hottest job out there. You know, being able to be the Dallas Cowboys head coach. So,
but is it though? Like, you got to just think about everything you have to deal with as a head coach for the Dallas Cowboys, and it's not talking trash about Jerry Jones, but the thing is, Jerry Jones is very involved. Jerry Jones is telling you what you need to do, and sometimes it doesn't align with what you want to do. So if you go there as a head coach, you know you're not going to have full control. So what makes you think a Bill Belichick, a primetime Deion Sanders, what makes you think a coach who is going to want all the power, all the control, is going to go to Dallas where they're going to have no control?
Well, I think that those coaches know the way to deal with an overreaching owner is to set boundaries. I mean, Bill Belichick was to tell somebody with a $70 to $80 to $120 million contract, he'll tell them to go, to go where the sun don't shine. Coach Prime, it doesn't matter. He's going to either have his success or he's going to talk Jerry out of it. You know what I'm saying? Before he can't make a move. So I do think it needs to be a veteran coach, though, one that doesn't that actually has had tremendous success. But I like what you're thinking there, Chris Harris Jr. I like that, the little prime time. I can see the white letter, the white stripe with the blue prime and a blue shirt for the Cowboys. I mean, it's looking nice, man. Looking nice.
Tell them to tank, man. Go ahead and tank. Y'all got Deion's son coming in at quarterback. Go get a top quarterback. Trade that. Get some other draft picks. Get some pieces. They might as well start over and rebuild.
Yeah.
Right. I don't see them winning a Super Bowl with Dak, especially with the Eagles getting better, continue to improve. The Commanders going to continue to improve. It's pretty much over for them, I think.
Yeah, this is why I wanted to come back to Deion Sanders. But first about the Cowboys, I think they were spot on with talking about what's the problem here. You have a dictatorial owner who decides stuff that he shouldn't be deciding. And no matter who comes in next year, if it's not the same head coach, it's going to be difficult for them to rule things the way they want to. That was where the Harrises with Chris Harris Jr. and Ryan Harris, Super Bowl winners with the Broncos, and Shelby Harris, who's a NFL veteran who also played for the Broncos. He now plays for the Cleveland Browns. Every week we have Where the Harrises on Guerilla Sports on YouTube. So definitely find that after this episode. Don't tune out here yet because we are not done. Do I think Coach Prime will go to Dallas next year? I don't know if the NFL is the right fit for him because, like I just said, Coach Prime, his strength is building up younger players in college, players that still need to learn a lot, not just about football, but about life. And I think that is what Coach Prime is excelling in right now. That is why the Buffs are playing so well, because it's about a lot more than just sports, something that he always says too. In the NFL, you have established men who don't want to hear that pandering talk anymore, who just want to work hard. I don't know if the NFL, maybe later for Coach Prime, but right now, I don't think the NFL is a good fit for him. And he also says the same thing. Maybe Shedeur will go there if they really tank, and if they choose Shedeur, they could definitely use a new quarterback. But Coach Prime, I would advise him to stay with the Buffs at least one more year, or go to a different college town, not straight into the NFL. But he agrees with me, so I don't have to tell him that. All right, moving on to, in just 2 days, an obnoxious YouTuber will fight the best fighter ever who's old now. Or in 2 days' time, a full-time entertainer will take over the crown of being the best boxer in the world, something like that. Or the best fighter to ever do it, who's now old, will beat that kid up. Kind of want to see that. Because Mike Tyson will fight Jake Paul in Dallas in 2 days. Is it Dallas? It is. It's in Arlington in Texas. This is something that a lot of people have been talking about. And it is expected to be the most viewed fight in the history of sports fighting. And I'll explain that a little bit later because that sounds like a little much, but it could be very, very true. So let's set the scene. 58-year-old Mike Tyson is going to fight 27-year-old Jake Paul. Jake Paul became a YouTuber, or was a YouTuber, became famous at a very young age, had a lot of money, did a lot of very stupid stuff, moved to LA. That whole neighborhood hated him. People online hated him. He went to Japan to a suicide forest where people take their own lives. He was making fun of things, showing a dead person on camera. He has been spat out by the whole world for just being a horrible person. He has learned from that. He has grown. And now for the last 6 years, he has been boxing full time, as well as being an incredible marketer. That is why this is happening right now. On the other hand, you got Mike Tyson, 58 years old, hasn't fought in 20 years, who somehow got seduced to do this. The The fun thing about this fight is that you really don't know what's going to happen. Jake Paul is serious about this. He's been working so hard, but he's been fighting for 6 years. Mike Tyson was the best to ever do it, maybe next to Muhammad Ali. But he's 58 years old now. Although if you look at the video, you wouldn't think that he is 58 years old or that Jake Paul has been fighting for just 6 years. We have a video here of their Instagrams. Yes! Yellow wire body haircut look like a schoolboy. I cannot believe how fast Mike Tyson still is. This guy he could literally retire in a few years if he had a normal life. And he is so fast and he still hits so hard. I'm a little worried for Jake Paul. On the other hand, Jake Paul's 27 years old. He's in the prime of his life, working really hard at this. There's a Netflix documentary about this now in 3 parts. I've watched the whole thing. It's a really good insight into why they're fighting in the first place. It comes down to they are fighters. This is what they do. This is what they want to do. They want to put everything on the line to go out there in the ring and prove themselves. It goes into Jake Paul's background, how he came here, how he came to this spot, and also Mike Tyson of what he's gone through in his life and what his life looks like right now. Very different from how he grew up. It was very interesting, very cool to see the background of this fight. And I said this might be the most viewed fight in history of fighting. Why am I saying this? It's because it's not pay-per-view. It's on Netflix, and yes, you need to have a Netflix subscription, but there's over 280 million people all around the world who have a Netflix subscription, who can watch this fight for free. And I think a lot of people are going to tune in. I'm going to tune in because I want to see what's going to happen. That being said, I am a little skeptical. I'm a little afraid that after the game or after the match, we're going to hear some people like insiders say, well, yeah, what you saw in the documentary or in these videos we just showed you, it wasn't actually as close, but we had to sell this fight. I'm a little afraid that that's going to happen. But at this moment, I don't know if that's the case. So I'm definitely tuning in. The fight is Friday. It starts at 6 p.m. There's also a huge fight beforehand. So it's not just this one fight. You can watch it on Netflix. So if you have Netflix, I advise you to tune in, even if it's just to know what everyone is talking about the next day, because I think people will be talking about this. I have to wrap this up, but let's talk about one more thing here. And there were some more stories I had for you, but we'll talk about that next week. Want to end with, I have beef with the governor of Louisiana. And I don't usually have beef with the governor of Louisiana, so this is serious for me. The LSU Tigers, the Louisiana State University, took on Alabama State last weekend. Both huge college football teams, so it was a huge game. So what do you do to hype up the crowd? Well, there's a million things you can do. Not one of those things should be to bring a live tiger onto the field before the game. And that is exactly what happened. For the people in Louisiana, they might say, well, this is not that weird. Because from 1936 to 2015, this was a common occurrence. Every game, every home game, there was a tiger brought into the stadium. It was their mascot, Mike the Tiger. And in total, they had 7 different tigers. So it wasn't the same tiger who just was like 80 or 90 years old. The fact that that was the case is already weird. But they stopped doing that in 2015. But now they brought a new one in last Saturday, into the stadium. And why am I mad at the governor? Well, maybe because he didn't condone it. Maybe because he was cheering in the stadium as well. No, because he bought the tiger. He was the one who bought the tiger who was brought into the stadium. And then when he was asked about it, he was like, yeah, well, sucks that there was only one Tiger on in the stadium that day, because the team lost so bad against Alabama. At least we had one Tiger. Are we back in 1950? How is that a normal thing to say? How is bringing a Tiger into a stadium with 60, 70, 80,000 people, how is that a normal thing to do? He was in there for about 7 minutes, then taken back out. The fact that we're even talking about this, the fact that I have to tell people that that is a bad thing to do, just baffles me. I had a lot more to talk about, but it's already 10:30, and we have off field for you in just 30 minutes. So tune in then, and tune in next week, because I have a lot more stories for you guys. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next week.